Good morning, good evening, and good night to all. This is Reading in Solitude, and I'm your host of Reading in Solitude. Tonight we're going to be reading another story of my own creation. This one is a Sayori X Reader story, but it's not so simple as just being a happy and romantic story, nor does it take the route of my Yuri story. It's really more of a capturing of the moment type of story. The story is about you, the reader, going to stop Sayori from ending her own life. It's a rather somber topic, and is one which I feel very strongly about. The story is called Under the Moonlight, and again, it is written by myself. And without further ado, let's begin. I pumped hard on the pedals of my bike as I raced down the street as fast as I could in the cool morning air. It was around midnight. I wasn't usually one to stay up that late, but that night I just couldn't sleep. Something loomed over me as I laid uncomfortably in bed. No music, no story, no body, it seemed, could lull my mind. I got the call around midnight, maybe on the dot even. I let it go to voicemail as I knew I needed to get some sleep, but something inside me told me to call them back. To call her back. It was Sayori. She rarely called late at night, as typically I went to bed around 9. Little did I know that she never meant for me to pick up. She'd called late before to ask if she could come over to my place on a few evenings when her folks were out of town and she didn't want to be left alone. But recently, she'd been spending more of that time with her fellow club members. This time, she called to say goodbye. Forever. She said she was at the bridge. She told me to call somebody to come find her, or had I the bravery, I could do it myself. My legs screamed with pain as I drove harder than I ever thought possible. I jumped the curb onto the sidewalk on the last block of the neighborhood leading into an old woods. I leaned forward as I rode over the many bumps of the dirt path leading up to the bridge. The moon was out bright tonight. The clouds surrounding dared not cover its luminescence. The cold was starting to get to my lungs. I coughed painfully at its sting. I couldn't stop, however. I tried breathing through my nose, but to no avail. Mucus oozed from my nose and at the back of my throat. I could feel the pain in my calves spreading up to my thighs and then my butt. Never before had I rode this hard. Not in my life. I could hear Sayori's words. I know you won't hear this until morning. That's just like you. Early to bed, early to rise. You were always that way, weren't you? Always the same cereal in the morning. Always there at the same time to pick me up to go to school. You're always the same, aren't you? And I've always loved that about you. I loved a lot of things about you. Loved. Like I don't still love you now. The truth is, I love you more than anything. I guess that's why I'm doing this. Ever since you met the literature club, ever since I've joined, we've had less time together. And the others liked you a lot. They all really wanted to get to know you. And I know that Monica loves you. Remember when you said that you had a crush on her? Maybe the two of you can be together now that you know. I wish that you would change, but at the same time I wish you wouldn't. I wish you didn't love her and loved me instead. Because I love you. I love you too much to see with anyone else. But I could never hurt you. I could never hurt the ones you love. I could never try to pull you away from them, because I want you to be happy. I wanted you to be the same version that I liked, but I see that maybe you're better off being the same person you've always been, even if that person isn't exactly the one that I'm in love with. Not the ideal one that I wish I could love. Aren't I so selfish? I gritted my teeth and pushed harder. Branches stung me, sweat soaked the thin sweater that I wore. My pants, the ones that I usually wore to school, were certainly not made for this, but they were the first thing that I could find. I just want you to be happy, and if it means that I must go, I will. I can never be happy, and thus, I'll always be a burden, won't I? I will. The bridge was just coming in sight now. I skipped onto the rails. I tried my best focusing on the bridge, but my vision became blurry. I started to slow down. Ahead was a junction merging the line from the bridge to a bend that came from midtown. The single line ran along the sound walls, separating the rails from the neighbors' houses. I felt somewhat faint. I stopped and tried my best to catch my breath. The bridge was only just a bit further, but my vision was going black at the edges as I struggled to catch my breath. I stuck my head into my sweater to inhale much warmer, more humid air. It was a major relief on my lungs. I felt my legs begin to shake. I must have pushed myself too hard. But then they shook harder. A low rumbling sound rolled in front of me. My sweater got brighter suddenly. When I lifted my head, I saw a train coming towards me, not 30 yards away, rounding the bend. The train blared its horn as it sped towards me. I was shocked, but as it came closer still, now 15 yards away, I jumped off my bike and down the bank of ballast. I tumbled a few times, tearing my clothing and cutting myself on the rough ballast. I looked down to my leg. A deep gash oozed blood and soaked my pants. Looking up, I watched the train speed by, taking my bike with it. I laid back as my head spun. I had to get to Sayori. I wrapped my sweater around my leg and then got up feebly and walked towards the bridge. I made it to the end of the bridge. Looking across, I saw Sayori some 20 feet away, gazing out on the moon. I stepped towards her but lost my footing and fell onto my knee. The fall startled Sayori. She looked towards me and instinctively climbed onto the guardrail of the bridge. It was at least an 80-foot drop separating the two sides of the ravine. "Wait!" I cried. No, you shouldn't have come here. You weren't supposed to come until I was done," yelled Sayori as she gripped the girders on either side of her, getting ready to let go at a moment's notice. I tried to stand, causing Sayori to swing herself outward. "Sayori, no!" I screamed. I couldn't stand at this point. My legs had become far too weak. I dragged myself towards Sayori. I couldn't even lift my head nor open my eyes all the way. "Please," I begged as I pulled myself along. "Sayori, I'm begging you. Don't leave me." The sharp ballast stabbed into my arms as I moved along. Unfortunately, a piece of ballast hit a nerve, causing my arm to rapidly go numb. I fell to my side and sobbed. "Sayori. Oh God, Sayori." It was some time before I heard a noise. It was a soft shuffle, as if somebody else's feet had stepped onto the ballast. I looked upward to see Sayori walking towards me. She knelt down by my side and looked me over. What happened?" she asked. I could see tears in her eyes. "What have I done to you?" I rolled over onto my back and grabbed Sayori. It was easy enough to pull her in with my good arm, but I forced my other arm, still numb and painful, to hold her. The two of us cried into one another's arms. I love you, Sayori. I can't live without you, please. Please, never leave me. I want to be with you for as long as I live. I can't bear to see you go, I said into her hair as I held her. But what of the others? Sayori asked. I've seen you. I know that you're happy with them. Happier with them than you are with me. That isn't true, Sayori. Those are our friends, so of course I'm happy around them. There's only one of each of them. And likewise, there's only one of you. When I'm with you, I feel great. I'm drawn to you. But I feared that you didn't feel the same. You always seemed to want me to be closer to the others. I thought maybe you didn't love me. It's not that, no. I couldn't let you love me. I don't deserve it. I took Sayori's face in my hands and kissed her. We kissed deeply before slumping back to catch our breath. We were still for some time before I asked, "Can we please go home? Together?" She got up and helped me to my feet, after which I placed a hand over Sayori's shoulder and limped home in the moonlight.